Hello and welcome to another tutorial from CamiPaige Boutique. I'm Brooke Tannehill and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful glittered travel coffee mug. As always, all the products I use will be listed in the description below, and you may even find a coupon code or two that saves you some coin. If you like this video and want to see future crafting tutorials, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can be notified of all new content. Also, come join our exclusive Facebook group where you can take advantage of upcoming freebies and giveaways that you aren't going to want to miss. So without further hesitation, let's go ahead and get started. For this cute cup, we are starting with a 16-ounce travel mug from Tipsy Magnolia, and I am just taking an 80 grit sanding block and scuffing up the sides of the cup. I do this because I really want to make sure that my paint or epoxy or my glue all adheres nicely to the tumbler. So by just scuffing it up a little bit and just removing any maybe like excess oils or debris from when the cup was manufactured, I feel like it sets me up for success. So I just take my time. I'm just going to sand over the entire surface of the cup, not forgetting the butt. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of alcohol. It doesn't matter. This is 99% alcohol. And then I'm just going to wipe down the entire cup, and you'll see on the paper towel just how much of the grody-ness that I'm getting off. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about this cup because I do it with all of my tumblers, but I just think that this is a step that really helps to set the overall tumbler up for success. After that's complete, I'm just grabbing a little bit of painter's tape and I'm going to tape off the handle. Now, I'm doing this because I'm going to be doing a different color of glitter and paint on the handle, and I don't want to contaminate any of that with either epoxy or glitter. So I'm just taking the tiniest little bits and just wrapping the tape at the base of the handle, just so I can leave it nice and crisp for the white glitter that we will be adding to this section of the cup. Now, this does not have to be perfect, and you could even skip this step. Since that I've done a couple of handled tumblers and didn't tape it and they came out great, but this is just what I did to take some extra precaution. Now we're going to be laying down the base color for our glitters. So this is Winchester Blue. It is from Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk paint. And I love this paint because it's self-leveling and it just gives me great coverage without having to go outside and spray paint. So I typically grab my favorite makeup brush for paint, not my face, and I am just going to apply a nice even coat of the paint over the stainless steel tumbler. So here, this paintbrush, I think it was $1.25. I get them from the dollar store, and I'm just going to lay down a nice even coat of paint. Now, I am going to be doing a double ombre with our glitter, but because we're going with a all blue kind of theme, I have found that it really kind of helps the glitter colors to meld together a little bit better if you do a single base color. Now, I've done multiple tutorials where I will do multiple color bases or whatever. For this one, it just worked out. And actually, this part of this video was filmed at a birthday party. It was a birthday party for Nick, and his best friend needed a mug for his grandmother. So I just kind of went into the craft room and started filming with about 20 people watching me. So that is what is going on in the background. But I'm just going to lay down a nice single coat of paint. Then I'm going to use my my heat gun to cure this. And then I'm just going to go in with another coat just to make sure that I've got nice, even coverage. It's not as important because we will be using metallic glitters, but it's just kind of a habit. After everyone went home, I mixed up about 5 to 10 milliliters of epoxy. I want to say I did use 10 just so that I could make sure that everything was thoroughly mixed. And then I'm just going to apply just the littlest amount over the surface of the tumbler. Now, I am going to do it a little bit thicker than if I were just using fine cuts of glitter because we are going to be using two glitter mixes that are a little bit on the chunkier side. So I'm just going to take my time applying the resin over the entire surface of the mug. Also just kind of making sure not to get any resin on the handle because we're going to be doing that a different color. But again, I'm really trying to make sure that everything is nice and evenly coated so that way we can get everything just tip-top shape with our ombre, but still have enough working time. And that's why I went ahead and using resin for this part of the cup. The first glitter up is Dark and Stormy. This is from the Drunk Flamingo, and I just absolutely love this glitter mix. It's just a really great navy blue, and I'm going to be focusing this right on that lip. So I told you it can be a little tricky sometimes. So I'm gonna hold this glitter mix up just a little bit higher than normal, and I'm going to focus right there on that lip. So starting just in the middle so that I can eyeball that. But then I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting the two colors, or getting this color laid down, and that it will blend with the second color that we're going to be using. But I'm really trying to use a light hand and just get the placement correct when I'm going around this first time. Again, just because that lip, and it can be tricky. So take your time. Again, this is why we're using epoxy to apply it. But I'm just kind of gently laying down where I want the glitter to go. And then we will come in with that second color. So just kind of holding the cup straight. I'm not tilting it at all at this point. And then just lightly sprinkling just to get that placement the way I want it. So this will be a double ombre, I guess you could say, even though we're just using two colors, but I wanted to blend a lighter color in from the top and bottom. So I'm taking my time here and just, again, making sure to get the placement the way I want it, and just constantly moving the glitter shaker and the tumbler at the same time to prevent any kind of like accidental blobs coming out and landing where you don't want them. Once I'm happy with the placement, we are going to grab Renewal from Peachy Yellow Glitter. And I know this looks silver on the camera, but it's actually a really beautiful light blue. And it's not just a single blue, it's got some navy in there and just some multiple, just like a lot of dimension with this color. But it's probably a medium chunky. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing on that bottom rim of the tumbler, and I'm starting to hold it down at a 45-degree angle, because we want to start to blend this color into the Dark and Stormy that we began with. So I'm gonna get the butt nice and covered right there. But again, we're just kind of lightly working on the placement before we go too heavy-handed and start to blend the colors too much. So now I'm going to hold it the opposite way, about a 45-degree angle, and I'm a little bit closer to the cup this time, just because I'm not worried, or as worried about that lip as I was before. And I'm just kind of focusing on that top rim to start to blend the colors together. So just kind of lightly sprinkling to get the glitter placement the way I want it. And then we will go back and forth and make sure that we get the ombre perfected before we move into the next steps. So look how beautiful it turned out. I really didn't have to go back and forth too much with these. The colors blended beautifully. I really think laying down that navy blue color helped tremendously to get this ombre into to a point where I was happy with it. But I'm just kind of coming in and blending this Renewal down into the Dark and Stormy until I'm happy. And I really didn't have to do that much with the bottom either. That Dark and Stormy coated so well that I really didn't have to do a second coat. Then I let that dry for about 2 hours, did 2 coats of epoxy, and then it was time for the next steps. I swear this color combination is one of my favorites, because I just think they look absolutely beautiful together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a little bit of the painter's tape and protect the glitter that we already laid down when we go into now decorating the handle. So you don't have to do this. Again, I just do it to make sure that I have as minimal amount of cleanup as possible. So I'm kind of just going to box in the handle. Now the handle is round, but it's just easier to kind of just lay down the tape to protect underneath. And you can kind of see there that I went at a bit of an angle to create that little bit of a rounded area for the handle. So I'm just going to kind of come in and lay this down again at the top and bottom of the handle. And this is just going to help us prevent any of the white paint or glitter from getting onto that beautiful blue that we just created with our ombres. Once we have the handle all taped off, I'm going to grab bright white from Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint, and this time I'm using a makeup brush that is a little thinner. This way I can just get a little more precision when I'm applying the paint. And I really like to take my time when painting handles because I am notorious for missing whole sections when I am trying to lay down my base layers. So I'm coming in and just taking my time again to make sure that I get nice even coverage. And I'm going to do a couple layers of paint just to make sure that everything is nice and coated. The reason why I do that is typically when you're using a white or an iridescent, you're going to have the paint show through. It's just the glitter itself is transparent, so the base color matters. With the blues that we used, it wasn't as big of a deal because again, those were both metallics. But when you are using an iridescent, you really need to make sure that everything is coated nice and evenly before you go in and apply your glitter. So I applied the first coat, used my heat gun just to dry it. I was live when I was doing this handle, so if there's little weird pauses with my hands, it's because I'm talking to everybody. But I'm just going to come in and do another second coat, use my heat gun to dry the paint, and then I'm going to grab my glitter glue to apply the glitter to the handle. Now, you can mix your glitter glue in with your paint if you wanted to for the second coat. The only reason why I didn't is I had barely any paint left in this jar, and I didn't want to take a chance of wasting any and making too much of the glitter glue and paint mixture because I am notorious for that. So I am taking my time, again, just trying to get that nice even coat underneath, and you can see that it's really, there's no inconsistencies. I'm getting great coverage, and that's really, really, really what you want before you come in and apply your glitter so that you don't have any just kind of dark spots on your cup. So I'm just using my heat gun to dry the paint and make sure that it is good and dry before we apply our glitter. And one thing to note is don't hold your heat gun in one spot. You want to always keep it moving. Otherwise, you're going to boil your paint off of the tumbler. But here I am using glitter glue from Artistry Epoxy to apply the glitter to our handle. I like this stuff because it has a longer working time than Mod Podge, but it doesn't take the long amount of time like you have when you're using the epoxy method. So I'm going to make sure to apply enough glue that I have a nice even coat. Don't be afraid to apply enough so you don't have to skimp. It's not like you're just doing a nice super thin layer. You want to add enough to apply the glitter, and I'm using a makeup brush to spread it out because if you do have any globs of the glue, you have the potential for that showing through when you're using an iridescent white glitter. The glitter we're using is Coconut Snowball Martini from the Drunk Flamingo, but I'm just going to make sure that I have a nice, again, even coat of the glitter glue, and then we are going to let her rip tater tip with this glitter because we have our base of our tumbler protected, so we don't have to worry about any of the glitter getting where we don't want it to. And since we aren't blending the colors, you just can cover the whole thing. I am taking my time and making sure, again, to get every angle because like I said before, I am notorious for missing spots when it comes to handles. So move the cup around, definitely view it from different angles, and that way you know that you're going to get the coverage that you want the first time instead of having to go back 2 or 3 times because you missed it when you weren't necessarily paying as much of attention to it as you should have. I let the glitter dry for about 45 minutes, spray sealed it with Petroleum 2X gloss spray paint, and then I went in with probably about a 10 milliliter coat of epoxy over the entire cup, let it dry, and then it was time to do decals. So this is where the whole look really comes together. I love this saying. It was one that Charles specifically asked for his grandma, and I cut this decal using 3 different types of vinyl. So I used Oracal 651 for the white. I used the Tech Wrap textured platinum from Vinyl Fun for Everyone, and the white was also from there. And then I had this light blue glitter vinyl. I'm not quite sure where it came from. I want to say the Vinyl People. I will look back and link it in the description below. But I just thought the colors really came together and just brought the whole look to life. So the decal itself is from Creative Fabrica. I will also list that down in the description for you. But I'm just going to peel back the paper here so that way we can apply it to the tumbler. If you know me, vinyl and decals, they're not always my best friends. Decal days are the worst for me. So this one actually wasn't too bad, but I'm just really trying to take my time and get this laid down correctly the first time. So I was just peeling back that backing just a little bit so that way I can do the hinge method to apply it to my tumbler, because a lot of times what happens is I get messed up when the paper sticks and everything just kind of goes in the crapper. So by pulling it back just a little bit helps me to kind of get it right and applied correctly the first time. So I am using my tumbler cradle from CamiPaige Boutique. I love this thing. It really helps me to get everything lined up, and I can keep the cup nice and steady and also move it with my pinkies to get the placement correct the first time. So I'm going to run my thumb down the middle of the decal, and then I'm going to work my way out from there. So this prevents any bubbles from appearing underneath the vinyl, and I'm able to work the decal onto the tumbler. So you can see there, I'm pushing outwards. Again, this is helping to prevent any bubbles, and it gets our decal nice and applied the first time. Once I got the decal applied, I wanted to add just a little bit more detail to the cup. It was beautiful as is, but since this was such a special tumbler, I wanted to add just more to it, just to kind of bougie it up a little bit. So I cut out some 5-point stars. I just used the ones in Design Space that are free in there, and I did a 0.125 offset, so you can see them there. And I mimicked the kind of layout, or I guess the vinyl designs that I used on the cup already. So I'm just going to kind of take this textured vinyl and overlay it onto the white stars, and just making sure that I get the right size all lined up. So I'm just using my transfer tape to get the 2 stars or the 2 vinyl decals kind of lined up, and then we're going to apply it to the cup. I did a 2-inch star, that's what this one is too, a couple of 1.5 and an 1-inch star. So going off of the white backing, not necessarily the silver textured vinyl that you see there. And so I'll get them lined up, then I remove the transfer tape and then lift both off at the same time, and then I'm just going to apply them every which way around the cup. So this was the bigger one, so I usually like to do it on the opposite side of the decal, since that is the biggest kind of accent, so to say. So I wanted to go on the complete opposite side and just get that all nicely laid down, and then I'm just going to do the same with the rest of the star decals. I want to say I added probably 4 or 5 stars. I had a couple left over, but again, there is no right or wrong with this. Just add them till your heart's desire. You can put some on the bottom. And then I did go in and apply Artistry's Quick Seal to the vinyl so it wouldn't lift up. And then I did 2 final coats of epoxy, and this baby was done. I hope this tutorial inspires you, and I can't wait to see what you create. If you have questions about any of the steps or information, please feel free to reach out and I'll be more than happy to help. As always, thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me. If you like this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see future videos. You can also ring the bell so you're notified of all future cup making goodies. Thank you again. I love you guys. Bye.